started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Tanev.
This isn't like the start of last season when it was just, it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all. And just before Chris goes, no, I'm kidding, Chris, you can actually go now.
no, hold on.
We had to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still had, hold on. All right. Chris, go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So, an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. Yeah, he's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
Saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No! He is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com, Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks, and subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. As where do we begin? I just want to quickly point out this scene. The scene from Dumb and Dumber, where the Jim Carrey's character is talking to the pretty girl, and she says, "You've got a 1 in a million chance." And the response is, "So you're saying there's a chance?" That's the Vancouver Canucks playoff scenario. That's entirely what's going on. We'll get into that in a little bit. How much do you play Thatcher Demko? We're going to talk a bit about Arshdeep Bains. So we'll get into some Canucks stuff a little bit later. But what first was, hello, Sean.
Hello, Kevin.
How are you doing? How was your weekend?
Oh, the weekend we had some fun. So this past weekend was the Pig and Puck Club game, and I want to thank Dylan and Matt for coming out. I know the score wasn't right and things got a little messy at times, but we still had fun, and we also got to meet Aaliyah from Canucks Twitter as well, who was in town from Prince George. So it was a good night all in all, even though there were some issues with the wrong team winning and other things. So,
well, according to Devin, the right team won.
Yeah, but Devin's not right on a lot of things. So
okay, well, fair enough. But I think it's great that there was that opportunity to hand out these tickets. So yeah, thanks Stephen and Joanne and the Pig and Duke for all of the work that they've done. We're going to try to do more contests like that. Contests are fun. It does bring people together. And shout out to Dylan coming out all the way from Langley to Calgary on his own dime. So that's great. And good you met Aaliyah. Good you enjoyed the Saddle Dome. And there was a hockey game.
Yep. Went to the Saddle Dome, which is a good arena. I will not, even though I'm a Canucks fan, I still love the Dome, and I will not hear anyone slander it.
Okay.
Looking at you, Kevin.
So I'm just going to stay silent,
Oh, before we get into something, I have a bone to pick with you, Kevin.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. Why do you hate fun?
What? What are you talking about?
Why do you hate Canadian legend Stompin' Tom Connors?
I don't hate Canadian legend Stomping Tom Connors. Okay, so I know what this is coming from. There are people complaining about the wave. Okay, the people are all crying about like the people pay their money at the game and they come in and they do the wave and everyone like ban the wave. And I'm like, I have more issues. I just find that good old hockey game song more annoying than the wave. I'm sorry.
Why do you hate fun? That's a good song. It's a Canadian folk song that is awesome. That is just, it's part of a hockey culture. Kevin, why do you hate hockey?
I don't hate hockey. I don't enjoy the song. I want what I want to be done is what Craig McTavish did to Harvey the Hound years ago. I just want it to be unplugged. I just want it isn't there time?
Dude,
Can
Harvey's
we not
still
have a
there.
new hockey song? Can we not have maybe a new song?
Because history is important, Kevin.
I
something
agree with
that
you that
is
history
awesome.
I agree with you. Well, we're going to get into history is very important. I totally agree with you. But some things we could just leave over here. It was fun while it lasted, and it's just time to move on. We need a new song. That's all. That's all it is.
No. You even tried to. We'll bring this in. Kevin brought this up in our group podcast chat, and he tried to drag Chris's name through the mud through this, and got the mug thrown back in his face. Because
I'm sure Tyler and Devin are on my side. They just don't want to say anything because they're afraid.
Afraid of what?
I don't know. Tyler just doesn't want to get. Tyler's busy with other things, and he's got officiating. And Devin's busy, and they just don't want to get involved. But they're on my side.
I'm pretty sure Devin said that you're wrong.
Devin said nothing. Yes, but I mean, hopefully, you wonder though, will we have Twitter to even chat about on anymore? Because it sounded to me like the world ended today.
Oh. Yeah, just because one big billionaire sold Twitter to another big billionaire, the world has ended.
Yeah, it's over. People are going to leave. I don't think people are leaving Twitter. I don't think people are. I just don't think people are leaving social media. I don't think. I think people will. It's one of those things that people will just express their frustration and then just, that was that.
Heidi sent me a tweet today. It was really, really good about this, about how Twitter users utilize this platform in a means to instantly, publicly, and impulsively freak the fuck out, thus entirely bypassing a once private internal cognitive process necessary for calm, critical thought.
Yeah.
Just because you have a thought doesn't mean you need to let it flow down into your thumbs to a point, and you're typing it out on your phone.
Well, sometimes you should, and sometimes you.
I don't know. Well, that's what I said. Just because you have one doesn't mean you have to. That doesn't mean don't do it. That means not every time you need to.
It's
I like cake. You don't need to share that.
Well, I mean, if you like chocolate cake, I don't mind chocolate cake. I mean, the one thing I've never posted on Twitter, that I do wish that what does one thing that needs to get out of the game, like just in terms of I think is completely overused, and you'll probably want to throw a rock at me. The Ric Flair woo is used way too much. It just needs to. Everybody's using it.
It's not just Ric Flair. That's the woo. It's David Lee Roth.
I know, but it's too much. Everybody uses it now. Fine.
I stand by my statement. Kevin hates fun.
Yes, I do. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do hate fun.
He hates puppies. He hates fun.
Yeah. I'm the Lance Storm of podcasting. That should be my business card. But to go to history here in a weird transition, not the best flowing transition we've ever done on this podcast, but
we're about to talk with one of the best flows ever in hockey.
It's true. It's very true. Guy Lafleur passed away on Friday. For me, this one hit a little harder because he was one of the first players I grew up watching. I remember watching the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins. When I was living in a small town called Carsland, Alberta, there was only two teams we could watch on a regular basis that was on the early game. It was Montreal or it was Toronto. And I chose Montreal because they were just the better team. They were skilled. and this guy with this flow just flew down the ice and was just a personality. Like there was no, it's very, we've spent so much time talking about how the NHL needs personalities. That was Guy Lafleur was a personality. I mean, the very way that people said his name, it's a hockey name. Guy Lafleur is a hockey name. Like that, Guy Lafleur should not be doing anything else but playing hockey. If you have the name Guy Lafleur, that is, and just a legend. And I will remember I read Don Cherry's book a long time ago, and he talked about the goal that Guy Lafleur scored in Game 7. I thought it was a game-winning goal. It was a tying goal in the 70s there, just down the ice. Just seeing the highlights, it was just he was so unique. He was so revered across the country, and that ceremony that was just incredible. I literal 10-minute standing ovation that the crowd would not stop, and you knew they wouldn't. You just knew we're going to do this as long as possible, and we're sorry, we're taking over this game because we're going to cheer for Guy Lafleur. And the fact that they took all the sponsorships off the ice, it just felt like a religious experience. It felt like a legitimate religious church. We went to church to honor Guy Lafleur, and the Montreal Canadiens do it so much better than everybody else in terms of honoring their history and respecting their history. And I said this before, but there has to be a way for Michel, butchering his name here, the in-game announcer for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but he should be in the Hall of Fame because how he has been able to just voice and allow the crowd to get into the moment and understand that moment is first class. No one does it better. And it's all due respect to Al Murdoch, who's wonderful at it, and Beasley, who's wonderful at it. Michel Lorenz is the standard of this, of no question.
Yeah, and going back, like, hockey is a religion in Montreal and surrounding area. It is. Toronto may be the center of the hockey universe, but the heart and soul of hockey is Montreal.
Yeah.
And it's just, losing Lafleur was losing a true superstar. Right, Kev? He was?
Of course he was. He was absolutely, he was in that, he was a larger than life personality. He is, that should have been, and I know contracts and stuff, but that should have been a national. I got it on streaming, but everyone should have been able to watch that ceremony yesterday on TV. That should have been a national. They should have broken the rules for it. He's a Canadian icon. I think that there's maybe. I actually would say there's only. I think legitimately, Wayne Gretzky was the only player probably in Canada that was more popular than Guy Lafleur. I would think, and just Devin's going to throw something at me hearing this, but I think Guy Lafleur was even more popular than Gordie Howe. Like, just because I think the Montreal Canadiens were more popular than the Detroit Red Wings. It's close. It really is. But
and you also got Bobby Orr though too. Like he is so revered in terms of what he did for the game too.
I don't think he's as revered as Guy Lafleur though. I think that there's some people that because of his association with Don Cherry, they're like, yeah, I don't know.
No, I honestly, Kev, I think that's just Twitter nonsense. Twitter isn't real life. We have to remember that, right? Just as I said, that's where everyone goes to irrationally yell and scream for the most part. So I think you look at that, and I think honestly, we're splitting hairs between those three or four anyways.
Yeah, my point is he is an icon of the game. Like he is like beyond superstar. He was a personality.
Well, I think that's maybe what you're actually looking for when you have your superstar. We go back to your superstar debate there, and then you'd have to definitely trim down that list you had anyways. So what in terms of like style on the ice, when it was the next time the league had someone who could just get people out of their seats with all that. You got Lemieux, and then maybe it was Bure, in terms of just being able to people standing up whenever they got the puck. Gretzky is more cerebral.
Crosby was cerebral. Ovechkin, I don't think you stood up to see Ovechkin because it was all about his shot more than anything else. I mean, he has some rush goals, but he's not known for that. McDavid, maybe.
I was going to say, I think it's Bure, and then there's a bit of a break. Yeah, McDavid's got that for sure. I think that's McDavid has that. Like, he gets the puck and he starts going up the ice, and you're waiting to see what happens in terms of holding the attention of a crowd.
Yeah. So it's so rare. Like, I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe does Patrick Kane?
No, it's again, he was better. This is what made him successful in the NHL. He was better in tight. He wasn't a rush guy either.
No, he probably a bit better in tight. He's a great skater, though. Like, I think he is,
and there's a lot of great skaters out there. It's just they did, like, the McDavids, the Bures, the Lafleurs. They just had something extra in terms of you knew you could see something absolutely spectacular out of them as soon as they touched the puck.
Yeah, and that was like it. You just knew it with him. You knew it with Guy Lafleur. Like, you knew something exciting was going to happen. And even in just the fact that he touched the puck, I think it was just exciting just because just with the flow, like the hair. I think the hair was part of it. It's like, oh, look at this guy down the wind. It's just incredible. Like, there was just a unique personality, and it's sad he's gone. But I am, at one sense, I joke about stomping Tom Connors. I strongly believe that we do need to keep the sense of hockey history. This is the Lance Storm. I'm being serious. We need hockey social studies, people. Those Montreal Canadian teams. I mean, Daryl Sutter talked about it. Bruce Boudreau talked about it. How they played, how tough they were to play against. Just encourage you to find that, like, you youngins out there, look them up and watch how they played, because it wasn't always wide open. I mean, those three defensemen, that line of Steve Schott, Jacques Lebert. Don't wear the goaltending equipment that they all wore, because, like, you would. Yeah, maybe not. That's not recommended. And wear a helmet out there for sure. They were not. Yeah, wasn't the best choices out there, but Guy Lafleur to me was one of my favorite players growing up. So it was sad to see that happen, but see it. It's been a tough week because, I mean, with Mike Bossy, Guy Lafleur, like, it's been a tough couple weeks.
Superstar Mike Bossy.
Oh, he's one of the great. He's in the top 5 of all time right wingers for sure.
Man, who's ahead of him?
Well, Gordy's ahead of Bossy for sure, and then
Okay.
I think it's personal preference for me, but I would probably go Guy, Bossy, Yager, and I think you have to put Jari Kurri in the conversation of top 5. Like I know that there's so many people out there that have talked about Jari Kurri. It's like, oh, he just played with Gretzky, and I don't think that you have. If that's your argument with Kurri, then I don't think you watched him properly, because he won a cup without Gretzky at Edmonton, and he could score, but he did so many other things well too. I think he was. I think he's. I know that he's on the hated Oilers, but Jari Kurri has to be in the top 5 for me.
I have Bossy as my second. Like, just look at his. No one scored like him, and even in the 80s, and all that. Like, we've got what I think it's him and Ovechkin that have like the most 50 goal seasons in a career. Like,
it's personal preference to me. I just liked Guy better than Bossy, and it's not that I disliked Bossy, but it's style for me.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah. And then, Dylan brought up Teemo Selanne. I think Selanne has to be top 10 for sure. Selanne was one of the... He was a guy that could get you out of your seat for sure.
Especially early on in his career.
Yeah. Yeah. And another one that probably should be in there somewhere, you have to put Pavel Bure in the conversation as an all-timer. He was a pure right winger, and we're wearing our Canuck colors here. This is a Canucks podcast here. Alex McGillney. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is ridiculous.
Yeah. Bure, the issue with Bure is just the injury shortened career, but in terms of talent,
yeah,
top. Oh, I argue he could be right up there with Gordy in terms of talent, and especially compared to the generation. He lost his knees real early on.
Yeah, it's a very similar career to Bobby Orr. It was too short.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, legends of the game for sure, and those were great teams, those Islander teams and those Canadian teams, and just every time the Canadians played someone, it was a special time. It really was. Sorry, the Leafs don't match up in standard to the Canadians, and you can put the Leafs on TV as much as you want, and you can talk about that history. It's not even close to the Canadians. And if you need to go to the Montreal Canadiens Hall of Fame to just understand the reverence of how they treat their legends. It's just it's something else.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe let's touch on the other player that retired here, and then we'll head to the Canucks. So Ryan Getzlaf retired. Actually a pretty big impact in Calgary. Of course, a former Calgary Hitman, did a lot of work. A shout out to a friend of mine anyway, Nicky Nash from Kids Up Front in Calgary. He did a lot of work for Kids Up Front there. He very much involved in all the communities. Gold medals, Stanley Cups. I mean, he's not going to be on a lot of lists of all-time great players. We're not going to have that conversation where we just had with Guy, Mike Bossy, Pavel Bure, but he had a hell of a career. And I think when 5-6 years from now, whenever his time comes up to the Hall of Fame, I think he should get in. I think he's well deserved of it. Played on one of the best junior teams of all time, by the way, in 2005. He was successful in every level and just made a team better. And the fact that he played with one team all of his career when he had an opportunity to move on, when Anaheim was in the rebuilding phase, I think just kudos to credit for who Ryan Getzlaf is.
He's also a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And I think that's where people need to realize. This is more than just the NHL that is in the career to decide who goes into the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. So what he did on the international stage is just as important. So yeah, I think it's also he was one of the best passers in the game during his career.
I would agree. He was maybe Jim Matheson would not agree, but I would. I think Ryan Getzlaf was an awesome passer, and as I drop my pen, sorry. A great playmaker, great passer, great all-round forward. Yeah, I totally agree with you. His passing was his strength, and and he was great with the Hitman too.
Yeah, great. Yeah, 1 Stanley Cup, 2 gold medals. He had the 1 goal. He won 2 Olympic gold medals, 1 World Junior. I'm pretty sure he has a couple World Championship medals as well.
He has a silver from the 2008.
Okay. And so it's you put that all together, and why would you debate that? He was also arguably the best player on his team, the captain.
Yep.
To me, he checks all the boxes. You can't tell. There's definitely one of my things is can you tell the history of hockey without mentioning this person? And if you can't, then they're in the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is why Bure makes sense, which is why the Sedins should get in. It's why Getzlaf should get in. Corey Perry, when he retires, should get in.
Yep.
So it's man, we're getting old. I remember when they were drafted. Hey, Joe Biden called Stamkos old. And called Gary Bettman Gary Batman.
That should be Batman's new name, Batman. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. And also part of one of the greatest drafts of all time, that 2003 draft. I think that is, depending on your perspective, that was a hell of the 2003 draft. That's the Marc-Andre Fleury draft. And Getzlaf was picked 19th. That was when Vancouver picked Ryan Kesler. Anthony Stewart of Hockey Night in Canada was selected by the Florida Panthers.
Calgary drafted Dion Phaneuf.
Yep. Nashville drafted Ryan Suter.
And then Shea Weber in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And Anaheim got Getzlaf and Perry in that draft.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that was
quite the draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's 2nd in points in that, only behind Eric Stahl.
Yeah. So it's hard to believe he's ahead. Jeff Carter is in that draft too.
Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
He was a 2nd round pick as well. Joe Pavelski was a 7th round pick. Oh.
There's some Lee Stepniak, former Calgary Flame, was in that draft. Bruno Gervais, Nate Thompson.
Now you're just pulling out the weird ones.
Kyle Brodziak was in that draft.
Again, just call your call. Okay, I can do this. Shane O'Brien, Maxime Lapierre.
Those are some great names. Dustin Byfuglien was in that draft, round 8. Yeah, speaking of the Winnipeg Jets. Anyway, yeah, that Yeah, it was a great draft. Yaroslav Halak is in that draft.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was quite a draft. Coquitlam, BCHL's Coquitlam Express's David Jones in that draft. Brian Elliott was the second last player picked in that draft.
The bust of the first round, huge specimen, Hugh Jessamine.
Yes.
God, I wish he would have made it just for that nickname. That's so good.
Yeah, that's true. Brad Richardson's also in that draft, by the way.
Yep.
Anyway, one of the greatest drafts, and Getzlaf, yeah, he's deserving of all of his accolades that we'll have coming to him, and be interested to see what his future will be going forward with the Ducks and the NHL. I don't know what his plans are. I haven't heard anything, but they had a really good ceremony for him last night as well. That was a pretty touchy ceremony. And yeah, so we'll see where the Ducks go forward here for the next couple of years for sure, as they're in rebuild mode. But the Canucks somehow, in some way, are still, for the love of God, in this playoff race. So the Vegas. Do we want to touch on Vegas first, or do we want to dig into the? Because I have a rant.
The tire fire that is the Vegas Golden Knights.
Okay, no, let's go Vegas. It's not that I feel like I'm ragging the puck on the Canucks here a little bit, but and it's not that I don't want to talk about the Canucks. There's this I want to get off my chest. Can you bear with me? Because I think I need to say this because everyone talked about. Okay. I want to go back to what happened last night to Vegas San Jose here. So, and I had this argument with Devin last week, Sean, about how if Devin was like, Vegas gets in, look out, they're going to be dangerous. I'm sorry. No, they're not. And here was a prime example as to why. As I shut down the 2003 draft, because that's going to derail me here. 33 seconds to go in the game, in the regulation time. The faceoff is in San Jose's zone, not in Vegas's zone. It's in San Jose's zone. They go, the Vegas won the draw. They shoot the puck. They allow Brett Burns to enter the casino, like he's entering in with the casino with a whole wad of cash. He's just able to gain the blue line without. Nobody was able to stop him. There was no interest. There was no one even close to him. No one. Then Teemo Meyer scores with like a buzzer beater left. Then Vegas gets a power play with 1:37 to go. This is a team fighting for their playoff lives. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. Nada. This is a playoff live team versus a team that is going nowhere. The San Jose Sharks have absolutely nothing to play for other than pride. And you lose that game when you're up 4-2 with 3 minutes to go against a team that has been eliminated, and people are sitting here telling me that Vegas is going to be a threat in the playoffs? Come on. I'm sorry. Come on. I had this argument with Devin, Sean. I just think that this team is old, they're slow, and while there are good, talented pieces in Vegas, they are not a team. They are not in any way cohesive. This is a group of individuals wearing Golden Knight jerseys. They are not a team called the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, shit like that does happen. But you need to. You can't let that happen at this time. What was like? We watched it's Devin. He thinks teams that like to collapse in the third period are contenders. Cough, cough. The Leafs in the playoffs. But
I'll have to get popcorn for Wednesday, I guess. Eh?
They're still a dangerous team. They have the talent, but there's something not right. There hasn't been something right in that locker room since the offseason when they basically had the heart ripped out of it. And we talk about how the Canucks had the locker room drastically changed and the heart ripped out of it when they lost Markstrom and Tanev. I believe it's the same thing here in Vegas, but they just have more talent. So they still have the ability. It's just there's something not right there. And because of how everything's gone, and then the whole Dadonov debacle, and even Alex Tuch was a big part of that locker room. And they just need to rebuild it. And it can happen. We saw what the Canucks have done here. That locker room's rebuilt, and it's got me excited going forwards. But it's just it's there's something wrong there. And yes, it's like they don't have a proven starting goaltender there anymore now that Leonard's done, and they've been riding Logan Thompson, who's I think's got a bright future.
He needs some work though.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that to belittle him. He's been put in a very awkward situation.
Oh yeah. He's not quite the made bed that the NHL goalers need to be, right?
Yeah.
He's a little bit unmade, just like Askarov. So and some of their top players haven't played well enough. Shea Theodore has not been good enough for them. Petrangelo's been all right. I don't think you can really quibble too much with his play, but he hasn't dominated like he has in the past. And they just can't. How healthy is that team? Their top players up front. Pacioretty, Stone.
Yeah. It felt like they were trying to. It felt to me what Vegas was trying to do was, okay, everything will be fine. We'll get everybody healthy, and we're gonna walk through this league. And I just think they disrespected everybody. I think partly they disrespected the league, but they just thought, oh, we'll be fine because we're talented, and they forgot the team concept of this. And hockey is a team game, and I just the way they've handled their players, the Robin Leonard situation is that's bizarre. Like even the statement that they wrote out that he's been fighting this from March 1st. Like it just, I don't think that we've gotten the full story of this, so I want to really be careful of what we say about what's happened here. But doesn't it feel messy to you?
Oh, this whole season's felt messy with Golden Knights. It's just been from how they traded Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. How they traded how they and then the whole Jack Eichel thing, and then now this with Leonard, where just he's getting season-ending surgery. No, he's not. Oh, look, he is. Like it just, and then the Dadonov trade that didn't happen because they didn't know his contract, which you should know. You can't blame anyone else. I'm sorry.
Nope.
And then I think it's. Honestly, we talk about owners meddling with Vancouver Canucks. That's it in Vegas too.
Yeah, because they were so insistent on winning a Stanley. They really wanted to win a Stanley Cup within the first 5 years. And I get it. It's Vegas. I get the idea of wanting to have your stars, but that style is never really worked in the NHL. Like it's still about drafting, developing, being a team. Do you know how many drafted players they have on their playing on regularly on their roster right now? Vegas Golden Knight draft picks. An actual Vegas Golden Knight. We drafted him. We're putting him in the lineup.
Oh, that's probably like one.
It's Jake Lasician. That's it. and they have been in the league for 5 years. So I would think that you would have a little bit more than one. Like, I think that would be a fair expectation. I mean, Seattle has one in their lineup right now, and it's Manny Beniers, and he'll be fun to watch, right? So, just you can't forsake the draft. You can't, like, you can push your chips in. I understand all of that, but you still got to have a team. And if you're not a team, if you're not a team that is connected and you're on the same page, it's hard to win in this league. It really is, and that's where Vegas is stumbling along. I'm not going to dispute that there's talented players on that team, but they're not on the same page. They really aren't.
And they also had Nick Hague, who's injured right now, part of the 8 players that went on LTIR to get Mark Stone back. And I also want to I think it's I don't like the idea of it's just drafted players. Homegrown developed players, I think, is better for me, because then that includes your draft, your signing of NCAA players or European free agents that haven't played. That's still a part of the story too. But even with that, you've got like Dylan Coughlin, Zach Whitecloud, no one up front.
And what was
Thompson?
What was Whitecloud's draft position?
He wasn't drafted, Kevin. That's what I'm saying.
Whitecloud. Oh, right. You're right. Okay, sorry. That's a good point. Okay, so
it's not necessarily drafted. It's developed. Homegrown developed players are huge because they are the people. They are the players that actually kind of engulf the culture of the team.
Yeah.
And like I said, they really don't have. They have no one up front. Even if you include the players on IR and LTIR, they don't have anyone up front they were drafted. They traded all their top players like Nick Suzuki away, Cody Glass. But they still have, like I said, they've got even, you said it was Jake Bischoff there, Kevin?
Jake Lecision.
And he's currently in the AHL.
Oh, he was playing recently. He wasn't on the current roster, but he was playing recently.
But they aren't, in terms of being able to just not they're just trying so hard to win without understanding that. Go look at Washington. Go look at St. Louis. Go look at Tampa. You need to build the culture first, and the winning will come later. They got lucky, and then they got they thought that they could do it, but now they've got Mark Stone at 29 signed at $9.5 million till 2027. William Karlsson signed at 5.9 until 2027. He's 29. Petrangelo's 32, and he signed until 2027 at $8.8 million.
Yeah, that contract makes me cringe. Just
like, I get it, but the fact they just don't have. In some ways, they need a refresh of this roster, but in other ways, they need to identify who the core is and let them know and let them build the culture. Not we're a bunch of the misfits thing is gone, and now you just have players who feel like they're expendable. They're the expendables now, not the misfits.
Yep, they're hired guns.
Yeah. Do you think that? What are the odds that Shea Theodore's traded this offseason? I think pretty high.
He would be a guy. He would be one of the defensemen. If I was inquiring into Vegas, I would inquire about him. Now, the interesting question to me would be what you get for him, because I don't know if looking back, I mean, we some old rehash. I don't think Shea Theodore. If Shea Theodore was on my Olympic team, I don't think he would. I would have had him as high as other people. I would have had him as a 4, 5, 6 defenseman on the Canadian Olympic team.
I didn't even have him on mine.
Yeah, so I don't know what value you would get for him.
I think you're still going to get a good value. Like, he's still a very, very good offensive defenseman. It's just he's not. He's very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
His contract isn't horrible at... There we go. At 5.2 for another 3 years. He doesn't have a no-trade clause yet. He will have it after the 22-23 season. So he's got one more year of complete no trade protection. He's still only 26. So you got 4 or 5 years left. So you could, even if you... The problem is he's got 3 years left, and then he'll be a UFA, and then he'll be probably looking for a big payday. But 3 years is still a good chunk to work with. He plays both sides.
Yeah,
I think there will be a good return for him, and one of the reasons why I brought him up is he's one of the few without trade protection. Alec Martinez is 34, has a modified no trade clause, and at 5.25, but his no trade clause, according to Cap Friendly, is that he's got after until whenever the season turns over this year, usually July 1, but I don't know exactly the date this year. He's got a 16-team no trade list, and then once that turns over, he's got a 12-team no trade list for the next season. So it's not horrible, but I think Alec Martinez is a key piece of that blue line that they've been missing for a while, and I don't think he's been fully healthy. But he's also 34. How much more are you getting out of him?
Yeah. The other one that I wonder about, the other name that just tossed, and I'm curious about, is Chandler Stevenson. You've got 2.75 until 2024. He wouldn't be a guy. He wouldn't be a guy like, take the contract out of it. He would be a guy I would want to keep. But at the same time, you don't have a lot of options to improve this team, and he can get you something because that contract is awesome. Yeah, but what do you? I do wonder. Like, I just wonder. Yeah, there might. I think that'd be a. If I'm Kelly McCrimmon, I'm asking the sun and the moon and the stars for that. Like, he's been so good for them. I don't think, and he's 20 goals, 40. But you maybe sell high on him. But he'd be a fantastic. He'd be a great sort of second line player who can. He plays on the penalty kill, I believe, and you throw him on the power play. I mean, even if on a stronger team, you can play third line. He would help anyone up the middle, but he would help. The problem is he would also help Vegas up the middle, and it really, a lot of this has to come down to, like, and I got to cheer for him because I do have a little bit of a WHL bias, as you know, but I'm cheering for Nolan Patrick. Like just from a human perspective, I honestly hope that he is able to play the game the way that he is capable of playing. I'm not saying that he's supposed to be a superstar, but he's had so much go against him that I know there's no question. I was in another chat and people were saying picking we were talking about the Flyers and why would you pick Nolan Patrick over Cale Makar? It's anyone would have picked Nolan Patrick over Cale Makar at the time. Now you wouldn't do that, but during that time, that Nolan Patrick was considered a top pick. And I hope he's able to come back and just play the game. And that if they can get him healthy, I think that would really help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He needs to be helped. That's another big thing with this Vegas team. Maybe they try and tinker, but they also need Cap's a huge deal with him, which is why I think Stevenson stays, and then why they might try and move a Shea Theodore. Because the 5.2 would open up enough. They still talk about someone who is a heart and soul player for them. Riley Smith needs a new deal. But is it time to get younger? And then you got Nolan Patrick, who, if he can get healthy, Brett Howden, if he can get healthy, also is a solid young player who I don't think's reached has more to give. Talk about a player though that I think he was originally traded as part of the Brian McDonough JT Miller trade to the to the Rangers, and he's a former first round pick. Eisenman looks good on that one. That deal he's we don't quite know what Niels Lundqvist is, but Nemestikov didn't really work out. Howden didn't work out. And they gave up 2 top end players. So, and then Vegas traded Brett Howden for an AHL player and a 4th round pick to the Golden Knights. So, I let's put it this way: next year, if Vegas commits to getting younger, that'll make him scary again.
Yeah, I think they have to get younger, and I don't know. I think the other thing, and I do you feel like maybe this is me, but I'm kind of feeling like there's some blame being put on to Jack Eichel here, and I wouldn't have. I was one of those guys that said you don't give up the farm for him just because he's not healthy, but I don't think he deserves he deserves the criticism. The guy's still trying to get his legs under him, and I don't think they quite found line mates for him. I don't feel like he has quite any chemistry with anybody yet. And I think that will probably take an off season for that to be figured out. But I'm the one person I won't criticize on that team is Jack Eichel, because I think he's just I just think he's in an awkward situation where he's trying to get his career back to where he is.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just Sabres fans leading the charge for the sour grapes. That's all. I think that's a lot of it, and fair game to them. I have no issues with it. We need villains and heroes and heels and faces in hockey more than we have right now. And even if it's just within something as silly as that. I was talking with a friend of the show, Graham Mosiman, today, and I showed him the pic of Lucic doing his best Magic Mike impression on After Hours, just showing up without a shirt on and cowboy hat, He's like, he looks like he's enjoying it. I'm happy for him. I'm like, yeah, he's making it hard to hate him. He's still a villain in my eyes as a Canucks fan, but I'm a true blue, older school hockey fan where it's my team or bust type deal. And he was the villain in that 2011 series. And it just, I'll never get over it. Just like a lot of people will never get over Corey Perry or Ryan Kessler or Brad Marchand or insert or Claude Lemieux type deal. Like, it's just, they're players that you love to have on your team, but hate to have them play against them.
Yep. Lucic for sure is that. Yeah.
So honestly, I think that might be something that the Vegas is missing.
Well, they had Ryan Reeves.
And
I do think they're missing him. I think Keegan Colasar brings an element to it, but I think he still needs. He got hurt last night too. I think that was significant as well. But yeah, it's just not that sandpaper. It feels like something's missing in Vegas. But they win against Dallas. Who knows, right? But and maybe Canuck fans, as we transition, are hoping for that. As 56 minutes into this podcast, and we're just getting into the Canucks. It's we haven't done a lot of gushing here about someone, and maybe we'll start here. The AHL, Devon's AHL defenseman there, Luke Schenn, was nominated for the Masterson Trophy, and I think I think congratulations. I'm not a big fan of like arguing who should win it, because I think anyone who's persevered, I think that's great, and we'll just recognize that. But Luke Schenn has been a heart and soul guy for the Canucks, and I think a great example this week, Jamie Benn whacks Quinn Hughes into the boards, whether it's clean or not. Luke Schenn right there instantly punched him in the face. So you do not touch our player, Quinn Hughes. And he's done that all year. He has stood up for players. Is he playing too high up in the lineup? That's a very legitimate argument, sure. But as much as Eric Goodbranson has been a godsend for the Calgary Flames and a revelation, I think that you have to say that for Luke Schenn. He's been a revelation, and he's been a tremendous add for the Canucks. And this is a guy I think you have to find out. I mean, you're not throwing everything at him, but I think that you have to look at bringing him back. I think he's one of those heart and soul guys.
He's signed next year.
Oh yeah, okay, good. Yeah. So thanks for correcting me on that. But yeah, he's a guy that you can that can be part of your the lower level of your team, and he will give you good soldier minutes. This is, he's not. No one is going to say that Luke Schenn is the best defenseman in the world, but he's a guy that knows his role and is willing to play it. And that is so important to me.
Yeah, chemistry on the hockey team and players knowing their roles and how they help a team win is huge. And he's been fantastic. He's been everything that I said he was going to be at the beginning of the season. Just a steadying force that can come in. He's actually been better than what I would say. Is he playing higher up in the lineup than he probably should on a good team? Yes. He's playing about 3-4 minutes more than he should be right now. But it's not like he's been a liability. So I think we just need to understand that, guess what? He's better than expected. And guess what, Dev? He ain't a AHL defenseman anymore. He was only that when he was on the Leafs.
No, well, a guy similar to Goodbranson, high pick, high expectations, in a market with the Leafs that expected more of him. didn't turn out that way, but found a way to play his type of game, and it works for him. It totally works for him, and I think a great nominee for the Masterson Trophy. I think not going to argue about that at all. He deserves the recognition that he gets here.
You keep bringing up Eric Goodbranson as a comparable, and I've got a compare player option up on Natural Stat Trick, and the key, like, Goodbranson's possession stats are all better, but the key one there is that's because he's getting over 60% of offensive zone starts this season under Darryl Sutter, while Luke Schenn's is being relied on more to play defense. Or Boudreau and Green had more confidence starting him in the defensive zone than Darryl seems to have for Eric Goodbranson.
Yeah, I think the comparison for me isn't, it's just I think that they are put in similar roles. Just know your role, do your job, be reliable, and they've both done that, I feel, in different ways. And you can argue the stats and all of that, and that's fine. But I feel like in terms of podcasts, we've given Eric Goodbranson a lot of credit, and I don't think we've given Luke Schenn enough for what he's done.
It's because you've let Devin talk.
Well, I let everyone talk.
No, yeah, Luke, they are comparable, and Dylan had got a great hat made with the Luke Schenn better than Eric Goodbranson sign on the side to show to Devin on Saturday, which is awesome. And I think he's right, especially with that contract. I'd take Luke Schenn at $850K over Eric Goodbranson at $2 any day of the week. Twice on Sundays.
I don't know if I would.
6 times on Thursdays.
I don't know if I would do that. I think.
Well, then you're wrong, because honestly, you're getting more bang for the buck, and this is a cap league where you need to have bang for the buck here.
Yeah, but I have to. I'll have to think about it. I'll have an answer for Wednesday. I just wouldn't say. I don't think it's slam dunk. I'll want to think about that. I think that both have been valuable for different reasons. I think Goodbranson was a revelation. $2 billion, sure, that's a lot, but I think he's been a revelation, and Luke Schenn has been a revelation. So I won't pick a table at this time. I'll do some thinking on that. And I guess the question now is, so you're obviously playing Thatcher Demko until that, as Tyler said, you're graying that out. But so I'm assuming so.
Kevin just wants to see Spencer Martin.
Well, the question would be, if you're eliminated Saturday, do you feel Demko's tired, first of all?
Really.
Have you bought into that? Because
yes and no. Like not more tired than any other goalie at this point of the season.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of conversation around that, and I don't know if he's looked tired. I feel like for the Canucks, what I'm seeing is a team that is trying the slow start and all of that, put them in a situation where they feel like every little thing has to be done right, and they're almost doing too much. Like, that was the essence of the game of the Canucks and the Flames. Really, was the Canucks trying to do too much, the Flames not having to do as much. That was ultimately it. The Flames could play their game because they've got everything wrapped up. The Canucks were a desperate hockey team that could not get anything wrong. And that's part of the problem. I feel like everything is just so magnified for Demko right now. Like he has to make every stop. And it's hard to play that way. And it's hard to play if you're not in a playoff spot. It's hard to catch up. It really is. That's ultimately what this is. So, but I guess if you're eliminated, do you give Demko the rest, and do you give Martin / Halak a look, or What are your thoughts on
I don't
that?
think we're seeing Halak for the rest of the season. Why would you? One.
Boudreaux suggested the Edmonton game that he might be available for it.
Yeah. I'd rather if you're going to start Halak, start. I mean, it depends on what the. I think they have to, if he's healthy.
Play Halak, you mean?
Yeah. If they don't want to play Demko on that back to back. I'll just put it this way: at this point, it's gonna be Demko until they're out, and even then, you're probably still playing him. Other than the back to back.
Yeah.
We've got. Let's see here. So it sounds like they're bringing back the skate jersey for one of the games this week.
Talk is the Seattle game.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you're probably playing Demko for the last two home games. And then if you want to give them a rest for the Edmonton game because they're out, then yeah, Halak will probably have to play unless he's not available, and then it'll be Spencer Martin. Because I believe Spencer Martin's an emergency recall. And as soon as they deem Halak healthy, then he has to go down. So if Halak is available for that game, he will play. If not, it'll be Spencer Martin for that game.
Yeah, so two more games for Demko. And LA will probably have something to play for anyway because there's still a chance they could get second from Edmonton, depending on how things check out for there. So that, even if, and I don't know, I think the other side of that is Demko probably, I would vote him the team MVP overall, and he probably deserves that last game and gets the applause from the fans anyway. But so, that's kind of where
he'll get MVP. Miller will get most exciting. Schenn will get unsung. Hughes will get the Babe Pratt best defenseman.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and but I think overall, I think that the thing I'm most looking forward to from the Canucks perspective, I mean, if they get in, the chances are 1 in a million they're going to get in a little playoffs. I think honestly, Friday after that Oilers game, the actual process of getting this team and seeing what these moves are, I think it's been long awaited. I think that is finally here. The draft lottery is on May 10th. We'll see where they stand on that, and starting the build for next year in earnest instead of all of this talk. It's been a long movie preview, and I for me, I think that's the most exciting thing to me.
Oh, I'll get excited once the season's over and then we see the moves.
Yep.
The draft lottery, honestly, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's good to know what position that you're in. I guess that's the only other thing. You're not going to get. There's no.
The Canucks aren't moving up or down. They have no chance to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's just, and even if they do move up, that means they move up into the top 10. They don't have a chance at a Shane Wright or anything like that. So it doesn't matter. Plus, and I've said this a few times, it's more about the full drafting and developing deal than just your first round pick. Even if you hit on your first round picks and they're all on your roster, if you can't draft after that, you're the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, before we go there, Dylan asked this: Schenn unsung over Garland? Yes, I would say because I don't feel like Garland. I think Garland. Some fans were disappointed with him. I don't think that he's going to come across as an unsung hero. I think, to me, if it's unsung, not my unsung nominees would be Luke Schenn and Tanner Pearson, and I think I would give it to Schenn. To me, I don't feel Garland. I think I don't think Garland fits in that conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's like I'd have him up there in for me, but I went with who I think's going to win.
Yeah,
and I think as there are some misguided fans who think that Garland hasn't been good enough this season, and maybe he hasn't quite been there, but he's not been as big a disappointment as they're letting out to be.
Yeah, I would agree. He would be a guy. Garland is a guy I would be hesitant. I understand why you would look at moving him, but I would be hesitant in moving him. You'd have to get a lot for him. That, to me, he's a guy. Especially if you're looking at trading, if you're not sure about Besser, you probably need to keep Garland around. Not that Garland is going to be a 40-goal scorer, but
I don't know if Besser is going to be a 40-goal scorer.
That's a fair question, actually.
And I think it comes down. I think they do make a decision if they can find a long-term deal on Besser. I do wonder if they move on from Garland, but I think it might be one or the other this offseason.
Yeah.
It's just you have to find a way to refresh this roster a little bit. You have to find a way to gain some other assets, build some depth into this onto this roster. You've got Podkolzin stepping up at this time. I don't think we'll see a sophomore slump from him next year because I think the way he's been brought in, he's a bit older, has been playing professional hockey for a while, and it's not like he came off to a rocket start. Usually the players who come off to rocket starts are the ones who have the sophomore slumps. He just does everything. It does all the little things right. So, I think he's stepping up. I think we'll see a bounce back season from Niels Höglander, and I just think that there is some depth available that they can on the wings that they can move on from one of those guys, and maybe even another winger a little bit farther down in the lineup. I think was it a couple weeks ago we had Andy on from.
Last week,
Cap Space Wins Cups. I said one of the things I said was I wonder if how Chason's played, if they can bring him back on another 1 or 2 year deal at very cheap to maybe replace Tanner Pearson, who they could move on from. There are ways to make this roster a little more friendly towards the cap limit and give them a little more flexibility that way. But you're gonna have to make some tough decisions. And that's why I'll get excited more closer to the actual draft when more of those discussions start to leak out and more of that comes forwards.
Yeah. It's kind of been a holding pattern for Vancouver for most of this year, really.
And it's just I'm okay with that because it sounds like the Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford are basically just assessing the market and trying to figure out what's the best move to make. They're not going to be rushed into it.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. I just one question. I want to get your thoughts on this, and I don't know if this could happen, but I was thinking about this. The AHL playoffs. We know that Podkolzin has been penciled in, or the paperwork has been papered down. Would you send him down before the regular season's done just to get acclimatized with the team?
No.
Okay.
I'd much rather him play against Seattle, LA, and Edmonton.
Okay.
When does the AHL playoffs start?
next week.
Yeah, no, you keep him up. There's no why would you want him playing down? Like, how many games do they have left, anyways?
2. And it was only just to get used to, your get used to the team, kind of get familiar with everybody, as opposed to jumping in game 1. It's a 3-game series. It's not a long series, and that's why I thought it. I mean, I just was debating in my head. I don't have a right or wrong answer to it.
They've got a game Thursday and a game Saturday.
I mean, you could.
And the game Saturday is in Winnipeg. He'd already played 2 games in a row, so no. Again, until they're grayed out, you're putting your best lineup out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then B, I would much rather him get one more game against NHL and an NHL opponent as opposed to AHL.
Fair. It was something I was thinking about. It's not like you're
so adamant on him doing that. I mean, I'm sure he'd be okay with play. I'm pretty sure if players have done this before, he can play on that Saturday game.
Sure, yeah.
Edmonton to Winnipeg isn't a bad flight, other than the fact that the ends are Edmonton and Winnipeg.
Good old Winnipeg, going to Winnipeg. Yeah. Just wanted to. Maybe we'll go here. We kind of transition here, because you talked about. You were talking about a full draft, and I've been following the WHL playoffs. Here, by the way, Kamloops up on Spokane 2-0 in that series. Well, probably that series shouldn't last long, unfortunately. Kamloops is up here, Spokane down here. But had a chance. Red Deer Rebels, WHL scoring leader Arshdeep Bains, playing with the Rebels. I think there's something there. I really do. And I'm not saying, like, I don't want people to get this impression that I think he's going to be a superstar in the league. That's not what I'm getting at. But he reminds me, this is a compliment when I say this. He reminds me of Nazem Kadri in that he can be a bit of a bothersome. And he reminds me a little bit of Jason Dickinson in a positive way, that I think he's a good enough skater that I think he could be a very dependable National Hockey League player. He's not gonna. We started this podcast talking about guys that are gonna get you out of your seat. Arshdeep Bains is probably not gonna get you out of your seat, but he does a lot of things really well. He's a smart player, good stick, good skater. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't drafted. I'm a little curious what he might have been missing. I don't know the whole story there, but I think that this is a good find for the Canucks. And I don't know. It just felt to me that there was something there that I think that this is a guy that I'm going to keep my eye on, and maybe I'm unnecessary or biasly pulling for him, but I think that he's got a shot to make the team in like not next year. I think he probably still needs some work, but he's a guy there. There's something there. There's something to watch there for sure with him.
And getting these guys in is good. If they become just good AHL players, having a good AHL team that you can help keep players competitive into the AHL is going to help. So if it gets to be more than that, that's a bonus, and we'll take it. But it's always you have to show us what you got at the next level. It's always tough to really judge until you see them right at the next level. What exactly you have, especially on overage CHLers.
Yeah. Like he's playing. Ben King is a guy that's the more explosive player. I would describe him a bit more explosive. Bains seems a bit more cerebral to me. But I don't know. It feels to me like this is a guy. I don't know. I was like, there's something there with this guy. I don't know. And I'm no Cam Robinson, Derek Neumeier. I'm no super scout in any way, shape, or form. They're smarter than me, but I'm like, I don't know. It feels to me there's something there.
What's his strength?
I would say his position, the way he is able to put himself in the right spot at the right time. Like positionally, he knows where to be offensively. That's what I noticed with him. Like it's not like you'll see highlights of Connor Bedard. He's going to blow you all over the ice. That's not Arshdeep. That doesn't seem to be Arshdeep Bains' game. It's right spot, right time.
And as long as he's got the skating and he can, in that positioning, being able to know where to be, can transition to the next level. They might have someone, because that's all. Like Smarts will always win as long as you have at least average skating. So it's we've seen players like Hunter Shinkaruk. We've seen players like Justin Bailey come through the system, and as good as they are, as good skaters as they are, they don't have quite the ability to think the game at the NHL level. And that's because they don't know where to be at the right time. That's one of the big things there. And so hearing that you think his positioning is a big thing, that means his smarts is up there, and that's key.
Yeah, I to me that's what I noticed, but I could totally be out to lunch. Dylan asked this. If you don't mind, I'll end. It's Olin Zellweger. He was taken out on a stretcher. Second last game of the season, one of the last games of the season against the Thunderbirds. I was thinking he's still recovering. He's a great skater. I think that it was a steal of a pick for Anaheim. Not ready to compare him to Cale Makar though. That's just like he's a really good defenseman, and I think he's definitely gonna help Anaheim. But I would not compare him to Cale Makar. Like I don't know what Dylan means. Like in terms of like is he going to be as good as Makar? I don't know. Does he have I don't think he's as strong as Makar right now. I think that he's probably going to need to get stronger. But he's a really good skater, which I like in a defenseman. Good puck handler. They started last year at the U18s. They used him on the power play. I think I don't know. I think he was a great find for Anaheim for sure.
I think I saw these in terms of draft +1 seasons in the WHL as for a defenseman. He's right up there in terms of what he's done. Offensively, 78 points in 55 games is kind of ridiculous. I know last season was a bit of a write-off, but he had 13 points in 11 games when the WHL did play last year. So I do think that he's got a high upside there. He's Hockey DB only has him listed as 5'9", and that's my only issue. As you said, the strength. Can he play at the end? Can he get to that next level strength-wise? That's always the question with younger, smaller players. And we're seeing a lot of undersized defensemen having success at the junior level. And you go look at Ty Smith in New Jersey. He hasn't been what everyone thought he was. So it's a tough transition, but you should be excited. I think there is something there.
Yeah. I'm always like, in terms, I'll kind of, I always want to be careful with comparisons. Like with my comparisons, like I'll compare in terms of style, but I'm like, oh, he's the next Cale Makar. Like people, when Makar played in the AJHL, as good as that league is, there was a lot of people that questioned his competition. And then he went to school, and that's where his game, I think, took another level. And that's when he came up that year in 2018 and played that series against Calgary. That, like, he took a huge step there for sure. But yeah, I think he's going to still need a little bit of work, and I really hope that injury didn't derail him. He's playing. But there's another guy on Everett named Nitu Hutavin, and the significance of him, before we move on here, the significance of him, this is why Tampa Bay could trade their first round picks for Brandon Hagel. 37 goals. Guess where he was picked in the draft?
I pulled up, so I cheated anyway. So
he was the
7th
last
round
pick of the draft, not just the 7th round. He's the last pick of the draft, and he has 37 goals. I guess that's why you can trade first round picks if you're Tampa Bay. You're drafting Nitu Hutavin, who's gets 30. Like they're that's the importance why the draft is so important.
That's why it's not all about the first round, and it's about making sure you're scouting correctly. I think people get too enamored with just stockpiling picks, but
yeah,
but I do think you need to have more than just your allotted, and the Canucks haven't had that for years. And you need to find, and you because the more chances you have, the better. But I also think that people just get too wrapped up in, oh my God, you have to get picks. Look at Tyler Bott. He was a player that the Canucks picked up at the trade deadline, and everyone got angry because it wasn't a pick, and then they became a big heart and soul player for them, and then they still end up getting a pick for him.
Yep.
It's even if it was only a third, but you need to, teams need to, if you want to quote unquote rebuild properly, you do need to acquire picks, but you have to make sure you hit on as many of them as possible. So just because you've acquired picks doesn't mean that it's going to be good. So
yep. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, keep an eye on the WHL playoffs. So Daryl will be. I'm covering the East, so I'm doing the write-ups of the recaps of all those games, and they're back in action tomorrow. Anything else we wanted to chat about?
On the agenda you had, what do Shorty and Garrett get a playoff call? I think Shorty will. I'm not sure Cheats will get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think Garrett wants to call anybody but the Canucks. I get that's partially what I partially wonder there. Mm-hmm. But I kind of was thinking about it. I mean, you've got Cuthbert Simpson will be doing the Leafs. Yep. They typically do bring a Sportsnet crew out for Crosby or Pittsburgh series. They've always done that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bartlett and Galley get that. I'm assuming Ball and Cassie Campbell Pascal will get the Flames series.
Yep.
I'm assuming Harner Ryan Singh might be Michaels DeBrusque the Oilers series.
I think they'll give it to Harner Ryan.
Well, they've been pairing Harner Ryan with Greg Millen, so I wonder if they give them a different series.
I bet you'll get Harner Ryan and DeBrusque for the Oilers series. You'll get Millen paired with Shorty to do another series.
Yeah, that could work too. That could work. I trying to figure out which.
And then Jack Michaels just does the radio for one of those games.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Because I bet if they're smart, they have. Because would you if you want one more Sportsnet or Rogers broadcast team. Also, it depends on how many do they have enough trucks to do that though? Because that's one of the reasons why they've had so many games, games called from afar is because they don't have they downsize and don't have the trucks available.
Yeah.
But maybe they buy or rent some to do these games in the playoffs because they know it's playoffs and it's huge. And if that's the case, what would the other series be? Yeah, I think you'll get Galley and Bartlett down for the Pittsburgh series, but do you do Minnesota St. Louis or the Colorado series in the West?
My guess is they do Colorado because of McKinnon, but
and McCarr.
But that Minnesota St. Louis series, that is going to be an amazing series. There's a Colorado podcast that I've been listening to, and they are convinced that the parade is coming to Denver. Like they are already they've got it all planned, but I'm telling you, they may get by Dallas or Nashville. They're going to have a hell of a problem with either Minnesota or St. Louis. Like they really are. And I'm not it's not that I think that Colorado is a horrible team. It's just I think Minnesota and St. Louis are really good teams.
Yep, they are. Minnesota's basically all in this season. Next year is going to be an app. Man, they're going to have to make moves to have any sort of a team next year, especially if they want to keep someone like a Kevin Fiala. Do you keep Kevin Fiala or Matt Dumba next year? I think that's going to be the decision they have to make. And then St. Louis, who's starting in net? Are they going to have the stones to put Husso in net instead of Binnington?
Yeah, that's the question. And who gets home ice? That's the other question in that series. Too. Or the other series that it could be in play is the way Florida's scoring goals. You wonder if that's an option too. Because they typically, sports, they also do a Boston series every once in a while. It could be Florida-Boston, could be Florida-Washington.
I think they just end up throwing the worst announcer out calling games right now and just let Jack Edwards call it because they know people will hate watch it.
Well, yeah, and then ESPN's going to have everyone too, right? So
yeah.
So
is it ESPN like ESPN and TNT sharing, or is it just ESPN? Because they could just piggyback off of those ones, and then you don't have to have.
Good podcasting here. ESPN will air 25 games, half of the playoffs, and all of the Stanley Cup Finals. So ESPN and TNT are going to split it.
Share it. So yeah, well, they'll just watch that. They'll have that, and they'll just simulcast that.
Yeah,
which isn't a bad thing. Other than those poor games that get TNT and have that extra 30-minute intermissions.
Oh yeah. Well, they're good. They're going to be at it for a while. Yeah. I think
those 6-hour triple overtime games are now going to be 7-hour.
Yeah. Actually, I think they've just started the first intermission for the Wednesday night game now, so it's good. That's good.
So yeah, I think they'd get a lot of flack if they only had if they only had. I mean, they still have 2 Western Canadian teams and only 1 in the East.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, Toronto. They're giving that to Cuthbert Simpson. That's a foregone conclusion. So.
I still think, yeah, you're right. I think Galley and Bartlett get the Pittsburgh series, and then you've got 2 and 2. And are you going to build another? The more I think about it, the more I think that's what they do. That's it. I don't think Shorty's getting because the other thing is you have to cross the border and go down there and travel and all that. Is he willing to do that for non-Canucks games?
Well, there's the vaccine. It's
still more just the travel. What I'm getting at,
okay.
Just if you get it, you still have to find your way back, type deal. It's not as easy as just like, yeah, we're gonna toss. And again, I don't know how many trucks they have to be able to do it, or whatever their setup is. I don't know if they've got the capacity to do it this season. I wonder if it's actually just the 3 Canadian matchups and that's it that they carry, and then they have teams for.
If that's the case, that's too bad, because especially Bartlett and Galley, like I think I enjoy their call, and I hope we get to see him, and I really like Harner Ryan Singh, I really do, and I like Rick Ball, but yeah, there's something about Bartlett and Galley when they call a game, it feels right to me personally.
They've got good chemistry. And it's not like they're the jokester chemistry that Shorty and Cheech have, and then Baller and Rudy have. There just seems to be something a little extra. They've got the right chemistry between the two of them, and it makes for a good call. I think they're honestly the best pair, even though Cuthbert's the best play-by-play guy.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with that take.
Because I'd have Bartlett probably a little farther down, but his chemistry with Galley just brings it right back, like right up to the top.
Yeah,
but that's all personal preference too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like. There's not really a commentary. Like, there's not a play-by-play guy that I don't jive with on Sportsnet. I think all of them do a really good job.
Play-by-play, I think, the play-by-play role is solid in Sportsnet. It's the color commentator role that's tough. I think it's one of the most tough roles out there, because you have to have the right thing to say at the right time, and 90% of the time you don't.
Yeah.
So it's so tough, and I've had this discussion with Graham a few times, and in terms of it, just no one can touch Ray Ferraro in terms of being able to do that. In terms of hockey, there's no one else. There's no one in the same level at the same level as him in terms of that.
Jim Fox would be a good is up there to me for the LA Kings. I really like listening to him.
I think there's a difference too between local and national as well, because when you're local, Cheech is a great local color guy. So is Rudy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But you take them national, it doesn't work.
Yeah, because they're too homer.
Yes. That's why we roasted on Tyson Nash for being too homer. Right? Yeah. It was stupid. It's just, and you go on. You go on Twitter and everyone's getting. So I don't know if there's someone out there that is immune to like people hating on them for whatever reason, right or wrong, rational or irrational. It's just the way it is with it, so, with social media, right? So even the legendary Bob Cole was getting dinged on the way out before he announced his retirement tour, and then everyone, oh yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we all remember the whole bullshit Toronto Maple Leaf fans not liking Jim Houston.
Yeah.
Crap.
Aaliyah Hextall got it this week for her situation with Wayne Simmons.
I think Tim Peel blew that out of proportion. I think that was more of a joking question than anything else.
Oh, totally. It was a complete joke.
It is what it is. You put yourself out there, you're going to get criticism. You're going to get people with bad criticism, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying not to. I refrain 90. I said something about Leah Hextall because I just didn't understand that one and had to say something. But I just, a lot of this, I'm just like, I don't really care anymore. Like I just like, honestly, it's like everyone's gonna bitch about Cassie Campbell. They're not gonna like what she's done, and they're not gonna like. I mean, Blue Jay fans hate on Buck Martinez, and it's just unless you've done it, it's really hard to analyze how to do it.
And the same thing, it's for a lot of things too. We will yell and scream and kick and throw tantrums about officials. Trust me, I do it all the time.
Yeah,
but until you've actually done it. I've never done it. I've never done ice hockey, but I've done field hockey. And the amount of times I've been yelled at for everything. We're also it's also competition. You got every blood flowing. You got adrenaline going, hormones going, raging. Like, it's just. This is why stay off Twitter during games. It helps.
Yeah, for sure.
That being said, I had fun at the game chirping.
There you go. There. You got, do it all.
And a lot of it is tone, right?
Yeah.
And tone and facial expressions. If you say fuck you to someone on social media, they're gonna tell you to fuck off right back, and then next thing you know, it's a massive fight. But if you do that in person and you've got a big smirk on your face and it's someone you know, or they think they can catch that you're actually not actually serious at all, they'll laugh it off.
Yep.
Like I got chirped at the end of the game, and I started laughing. I'm like, all right, good for you guys. So, but next week we're gonna have a playoff hockey. Get there, Kev. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So Wednesday, I'm gonna announce my award. I've decided my awards winners for all of the categories except the Masterson, because I won't vote on that. But all the other awards, I have picked a winner. So we're gonna do that on Wednesday.
Did Daryl Sutter win the Hart Trophy?
No.
Did he win the Mark Messier Leadership Award?
Oh, I didn't pick that one yet.
Don't. It's a fake award. It's stupid.
The major award, the ones that matter, like the Hart, Selk, Norris, Calder, Lady Byng, those ones, Vezina, and Jack Adams, those ones I have a vote on.
I always love when you say Selkie wrong.
I like Selk better, but it's Selkie.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, we'll discuss that. I'm sure I might get yelled at, but I think my picks are very reasonable, actually. So,
Johnny Gaudreau for Hart. Okay. I'm expecting that.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Okay. Lindholm for the Selk. All right. I'm expecting that. Are you picking Mark Giordano for the Norris? Oh, no, that was a decade ago. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Kev. It's always fun to debate awards.
Yeah.
As I said, was it worst take in hockey is to get rid of the most valuable definition of the Hart? I think it's the worst take in hockey because that's what makes that award so fun to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that this year, the two I think the two are very separate. Very separate. This year among any other year it's more separate of what's most valuable and best player because I don't think they're the same. And it's not because, and the way will word it, not to give away, I just looked at it. It came down to, for the Hart, it came down to the records of the teams, is how I looked at it. And that's where I went on most valuable. Because I think that's like, if you win games, you deserve more recognition. I think that's a very fair way to do that.
Yep.
Anyway, that's Wednesday. We'll be back then. We'll leave it here. How do we follow you?
I am Beardy Canucks 03 on Twitter.
Tyler, TNOBLE, Christian Schneid's driving around somewhere in this fine province of British Columbia, SCHNEIDZ. Devin, Gordhowe09, he'll be back on Wednesday. I am KEVOLE, Shifts and Pucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts. Give these videos a like, give them a follow, hit that subscribe button. It helps us grow as a channel as we continue to do, retweet our stuff, all of that. And we're back Wednesday to talk Flames. We'll figure out the plan going forward. Was I right? More Markstrom, more Vladar, less Markstrom. I guess we'll figure that out. Will we see Dustin Wolf? Who knows? We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.